крутиться.
Брат, иди!
Нормально,
Жив, брат?
Да.
Поехали. Газ.
Напиши, що FPV в'їбало.
I think
Because I want to stop you right there, because in my career, which started in 1990 in Washington, up until very recently, it was an established fact in Congress. Established fact. The Republicans and Democrats had a default proposition favorable to Israel. Not always, not universally, but a default proposition that began with yes. That's not true anymore. That's less true than at any other time I've covered Washington. That has to be reflective of something else.
yes, it is. Well, these are historical cycles, which
So
my
you're in a
father.
historical cycle.
Yes, we are. I mean, anti-Semitism is.
It had been
basically-
flowed, yes.
But, yeah, but it had been flowed, but it flowed throughout our history, and the reason it,
But America's not a place where things like that tend to come back.
well, they can come back. They were there in the 1930s.
Yes.
With Father Coughlin, and they
Yes.
ebbed because of the war, but it's come back. What is it? I think it's an interesting question of why this happens, and I think there's a natural human tendency between people, and also between peoples, collective groups. It's called jealousy, and jealousy often, if somebody is very successful, you can be appreciative of them, especially if it's, say, a very successful and strong country. Then you temper your jealousy and you go to respect. But if you...
So these are the embers of envy.
I think it's part of it. I don't think it explains all of it, but I think one thing I can say is that there are many explanations for the phenomenon, the durability of anti-Semitism over the ages. My father was a great historian of this. And we can have a separate discussion on it.
Brüsszel nem a barátunk, Brüsszel az ellenségünk. Brüsszel a nemzeti szuverenitásért harcoló országoknak a jogköreit meg akarja kurtítani. Zsarolja őket pénzügyileg is és más eszközökkel is. Ez történik egész Európában. Brüsszelre szükségünk van, Európai Unióban kell maradni, de Brüsszellel szemben csak a harc és a küzdelem a helyes magatartás. Nem lehet Brüsszellel kompromisszumot kötni úgy, hogy a magyarok ne járjanak pórul. Mindig pórul fogunk járni. És hogyha oda megy valaki és föladja az ország szuverenitását, enged létfontosságú kérdésekben a néhány milliárd euróért, annak később óriási árát fogjuk megfizetni. Tehát azt látom, nem akarok bírálni, akkor már még hivatalba se léptek szerencsétlenek, de a helyzet az, hogy egy dolgot már látok, hogy a Brüsszelhez való viszony átalakítása, a patrióta álláspontról való lemozdulás, a befekvés, vagy lefekvés Brüsszelnek, az egy óriási stratégiai hiba, és Magyarország súlyos árat fog érte fizetni. Ki kell menni, és harcolni kell. Ha nem harcolsz Brüsszelben, letaposnak, lenyomnak, és kifosztanak. Ezt meg kell érteni az új vezetésnek. Ezt a megértést még nem
I believe in vaccines, but I don't believe that, you have to have a mandate for all of them. The polio vaccine's amazing. It's, wiped it out. And I believe in vaccines, but, I think we were up to 88 vaccines. And I really feel that vaccines, if they were given in smaller quantities, they want to cut some out, and that's good too. And I agree with that. 82 is too many. If you look at Denmark and other countries, you have 12, 14, I think 17. And we have like 82. But I look at these beautiful little babies, and they get a vat, so like a big glass of stuff pumped into their bodies. And I think it's a very negative thing to do. And I would like to see it. I'm not doing this in terms of Bobby or not. I hope they agree with that, but that's just my opinion. I would love to see much smaller shots, like 4 visits to the doctor, And I think you would have a much better result with the autism.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. I am on the road and I'm pre-taping this early. I had a call from the Department of War to go out to the Land Pack conference out off the left coast. So I will be reporting on site over the next few days from that location. So I had to pre-tape this Sunday night, but there's a lot to talk about. And thanks for joining us today. Please check out whatfinger.com. It's a great aggregator site. They post a lot of our content. And I want to say hello to the crew in the chat, even though you're not live right now. Thank you for joining us today, and I love all the engagement. We've got a hell of a show for you today. I've got Gebran Bassil, who is the leader of the Free Patriotic Movement in Lebanon that I interviewed last week in Lebanon. I haven't played the interview for the SCIF yet, so we're going to do that this morning. He is an important figure. He's a controversial figure. He's had run-ins with the U.S. government, and he tells it like it is. And I think his opinion is worth hearing. In a lot of ways. We give a lot of different opinions on this show from all different types of people who are impactful in the world, and he is definitely that. So Gebran Bassil, I think you'll enjoy that. The leader of the Free Patriotic Movement in Lebanon, one of the largest Christian parties. And then later in the show, we've got Garland Favorito, who is with VoterGA down in Atlanta, and he is going to talk about more continuing corruption out of the Raffensperger Secretary of State office due to dealing with elections and the coming election for governor in Georgia. You'll find what Garland has to say shocking. This is going to be a little bit of a different show. I'm just going to cut from video to video because we're pre-taping this, but we will go through some stories a little later in the show and talk about that. But let's do that real quick. This is your mission brief. Today is May 11th. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Here's your mission brief. Israel is having trouble with FPV drones, that's first-person view drones, in South Lebanon. They're taking hits on their Iron Dome, also against troop formations, and they're coming up with some interesting ways to defeat that. A lot of learning has gone on in Ukraine and other areas, and they are implementing a lot of those techniques. Spencer Pratt surges in the LA mayoral race. Wow, you've seen the ads online, I'm sure, on X. You can go to the article on CDM and check this out as well. But quite a refreshing development out in California. Maybe it's not dead. We'll see. The Armenian PM, Pashinyan, prime minister, betrays his own heritage. I want to talk about that. It's important because it relates to a lot of other things that are going on in the world. And they're taking over your car. Did you know that? If you buy a new car, do you know what's in it or what's going to be connected in it? You need to know. Stay tuned for that later in the show. And Zelenskiy in Ukraine sets up legal mercenary armies. Surprise, surprise, more war on the soil of that bloodied soil in Ukraine. All right, we're going to take a break. Thanks for joining us today on the SCIF. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us again. I'm on the road. This is being pre-taped Sunday night. I am at the request of the Department of War, attending the Land Pacific Conference, Land Warfare in the Pacific, off the left coast. I'll tell you where we are tomorrow, but I will be on location through the rest of the week there. So this is being pre-taped and Sunday night, but it's very relevant because we had a huge weekend, so there's a lot to talk about. And let's go through some of those stories. Why is the GOP enabling the deep state to take over your car? This is inquiring minds want to know. The surveillance state, the deep state attempt to control your life in every facet is continuing, and legislation is being put through Congress that will put a kill switch in your car if you are not doing what they want. Of course, they're couching it in safety and, saving the children and all that, but essentially they'll be able to turn off your car if they don't like what you're doing. That's not cool, and we're going to continue to raise this issue because we want this privacy issue to be front and center, and people need to know what's going on. So I would not buy a new car. Frankly, that's just me. Spencer Pratt is surging in LA. He is former reality TV star. He's going up against Karen Bass. And if you haven't seen some of the ads, wow. Let's play one of those.
Please, I'm begging you. There's homeless drug addicts in front of the schools. My children aren't safe.
Look, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy.
Let's move the drug addicts closer.
Bass already solved crime. I endorse her.
Next!
Please, I just want to rebuild my home. It's been over a year.
Mom, look!
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground,
Love it. They're scared in California. The Democrats are scared of Mr. Pratt, and Karen Bass is running scared and now refusing to debate. You can find this story on cdm.press, but we want to talk more about this whole race because it's hugely important, obviously. This story is a big one. It's in Armenia. We've talked a lot about the corrupt government, globalist government in Armenia, which is attacking the Apostolic Church, the Christian church in Armenia, the first Christian country ever, by the way. And now Pashinyan, the prime minister, is saying, you know what, the old ancient Christian lands which you fought over for centuries, and essentially I gave away to the Azeri Muslims a couple years ago. Well, those weren't really Christian at all. They weren't really our lands. And he's just essentially betraying his heritage. I hate to see this, but that's what's going on. And all the evangelicals in the U.S., like Franklin Graham and others, have gone there to hold prayer breakfasts and support this guy while he's putting priests in jail. And it's just not cool. And we're going to continue to discuss this in Armenia because it's highly, highly, highly important. All right, another one. This one is important. This is President Zelenskiy of Ukraine authorizing and orders legislation to legalize private military companies in Ukraine. Why would he do that? Well, guess what? If somebody dies and they're working for a private military corporation, they don't have to pay the benefits. That is, the government doesn't have to pay. Ukraine has been slow on repatriating bodies because they don't want to tell the families that they have the bodies of their loved ones, and they are trying to find ways to cut their expenses, and military benefits is one of those they want to cut. They don't care about the people of Ukraine. They just want the war to continue and continue to depopulate the region for whatever nefarious goals the globalists do have in that region. We've talked about that a lot, but that is definitely a thing. And of course, we think we'll continue to see the mobilization in Ukraine, in air quotes, snatching guys off the street in order to fund and fill the ranks of these private military corporations. This is really dark, but it is more the same in Ukraine. All right, last story I want to make you aware of is the Israelis are having trouble with FPV drones, first-person drones. They had a hit on their Iron Dome yesterday, and they are having trouble with troop formations in southern Lebanon. They're taking casualties due to the Hezbollah drones, which they're learning from the Ukrainians and the Russian front, and applying this against the Israelis. And the war continues. The Israelis continue to bomb the suburbs of Beirut. They continue to raise cities down in southern Lebanon to create a buffer zone for their security, they say. The Lebanese say, you're not going to take our land. So it's really not a good situation in southern Lebanon at all. And Hezbollah is 40% of the government in Lebanon, and the Lebanese army doesn't have the willpower, nor the manpower, nor the ability, military capability, to push Hezbollah out of the region. So it looks like just a military solution is going to be the end game there. All right, well, that's it for the stories. Don't go anywhere. We've got Garland Favorito coming here, another interview. Again, we're just going to roll through the interviews here. I'm not going to introduce as I usually do, but stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another $1 trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with U.S. Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call U.S. Asset Management today and put us to work for you.
If you follow us at CDM, you know that we have been focusing on and highlighting the persecution of Christians around the world. We've been on the ground in Armenia discussing the attack on the Apostolic Church by the government. We've discussed intensely what's going on in Ukraine with the destruction of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And we've been on the ground in Beirut many times, in Lebanon, a formerly majority Christian country under attack for decades now, trying to weaken that Christian majority and the population and culture. So we thought it was important to sit down with some leaders of the Christian faction in Beirut, and we sat down with Gebran Bassil. He is the head of the Free Patriotic Movement, one of the largest Christian parties in Beirut. We think his opinions and his ideas are important to hear, especially for the West. So I hope you enjoy this interview. Thank you. We are here with Mr. Gebran Bassil. He's the head of the Free Patriotic Movement in Lebanon. It's one of the largest Christian parties in the country, and we're honored to have some time with him. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
So there has been a lot of changes in Lebanon over the last few decades, many of them impacting the Christian community in different ways, good and bad. Where does the Christian community stand today in Lebanon?
You know, the Christian community has a role in this country, in this region, and in the world. It is bridging between communities. It is a message of hope, peace, love, understanding, and acceptance of the other. And the living together is a model of a society that is best described in Lebanon. And without the Christians in this part of the world, the message of Christianity would be lost. So this is where the Christians are. It is a perfect place where the Christians, they can spread their message, the message of the Christ, and they can prove that people can live together despite their differences in ideologies and religion, and wars is against our message. You know, we fight for a better living, we fight for freedom, we fight for hope and a better way of life, but we don't fight for fighting, and we don't fight to eliminate others. We fight to exist in our faith, in our beliefs, but also accepting others to live in their faith and their beliefs. And if the Christians are, removed out of the equation in this region, I think the model of coexistence will not prosper, nor will it exist. And this is the role of the Christians that should be maintained for the sake of humanity. Or else we would be living in endless conflicts. And the spirit that the Christians are spreading in Lebanon, that such a society can exist. Now, the big question is not about the role of the Christians. The big question is the Christians are allowed to play that role next to a country like Israel, which is monolithic in its faith. Will the US support and back that role of the Christians in Lebanon and in the region?
So you're saying the Christians provide a tolerance based on the teachings of Jesus Christ that allows for this diverse society to exist. Is that essentially what you're saying?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And all the wars that the country and the region are going through are somehow having very bad impact on the Christians and their existence and in their role. Because whenever you stimulate and encourage conflicts between communities, between religions, then the voice of the war will be superior to the voice of peace. And the message of the Christians would take a minimal role. And so whenever you have war, the moderate people will have a marginal role. So that's why are we supposed to live in continuous wars, or are we allowed and encouraged to play our role of spreading tolerance? And because this is a region, this is a land where the religions were born. So either we fight endlessly so that one of our gods will win, and each one will, with his, theories, one will have to wait for the Mahdi to come to Jerusalem, and the other will wait for the Antichrist, and the third will wait for the real Christ, and on that, each one is allowed to have his belief, but without forbidding the other from practicing his own belief. Do we have to practice this by fighting each other and killing each other and trying to eliminate each other? Or no, we accept that Jerusalem, for example, is a city open for all, and each one can wait for his Christ on his own time, on his own theory,
Demographically, the Christians have been reduced, I think, from around 70% to below 40%. I think you have 2 million Sunni refugees here. How is that impacting Lebanon, having such diverse communities here?
The numbers of the Christians are decreasing not only in Lebanon. Look at all the Levant. In Iraq, they were 2 million. Now they are probably less than 200,000. In Jerusalem and Bethlehem and Nazareth, in Bethlehem, they are less than 8%. Even if they want to hold a mass on Easter, they would have to make a huge fight with the Israeli authorities. In Syria, they were 2 million, more than 10% of the population, less than 10 years ago. And now they are definitely the quarter of that number. And the dream of every Syrian in Syria is to emigrate. Okay, and in Lebanon, we were a majority. Now we are in a minority. And this lies, somehow, the responsibility lies on us somehow. It is a demographic issue, but also it's because of the political situation. And people are emigrating because they don't find a place here for their ambitions, but also for their freedom. And they don't find the support. So they believe that this region is no more for us to freely spread our message. And every time we had war in this region, and unfortunately, a war that is backed or launched by the Western countries, it is on the expense of the Christians. They are at the end paying the price for every war, for every conflict. And that's why we want to neutralize our country in a way to be in an active and positive role, bridging between people, not to be a source of, conflicts in the region and to be obliged to take one side against another. Where fighting is not helping us to spread our message. Fighting is causing us to leave.
Yeah.
I don't think that the West needs another 1 or 2 million Christians. You have enough Christians in the US, in Europe, and everywhere, but you need us in this region to maintain our message, but also to maintain the possibility of living together. Because if you can't live together here, how can you live together in the US?
How do you get some of the Lebanese to move back that have immigrated in the diaspora around the world?
To come back to Lebanon, you mean? It's easy. You give them confidence that this place is a livable place, where they can express their freedoms and they have their active role, not only in life, but in politics also, because the Christians would never be satisfied into living only, in a well-being, way of living only. It is also they practice their role, which is in a unique country like Lebanon, it's the parity between Christians and Muslims. So you should give them the confidence that they are secure here, that they are free, and they are active. They cannot be passive in a society. Whenever they are passive, they leave.
You mentioned security in the South, and actually in the North, you were telling me before that there's Christian communities that are under threat in the conflict areas. How are you helping them, or what do you want for them as far as the future?
No, are you talking about the South?
Yes.
Now, during the war, the Israelis are not safeguarding any community. They are attacking everybody. And they are killing everybody. They are destroying a complete demolition of all the houses. And the Christians and the Christian villages, they want to live at the end of the day with their neighbors. They can live in peace with Israel, but they need to live in peace also with their Lebanese brothers, the Muslims, and their neighboring villages. So they should be allowed to stay, because if they leave, it won't be easy for them to come back. If their houses are demolished, if their houses are occupied, by the Israeli forces, and if their dignities are attempted the way they are, one day you see, the Christ, the other day you see the Virgin Mary, badly.
You're talking the statues.
The statues and the demolition of the churches, of the convents. Why do you need to demolish and totally destroy a church? We are talking about several cases. Okay, one soldier can commit a sin. Okay, it's an individual error or mistake. But when the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they deliberately destroy more than 10 churches and convents, what's the message they are spreading? Okay, they are considering that the Shias, or they are spreading the word that the Shias are a source of terror or a source of danger to their soldiers. But in a period of truce, when there is a ceasefire, what is a church a source of danger to an Israeli army, not a soldier? So it should be destroyed.
The issue of Hezbollah is a huge one. The Israelis see it as a threat. You see it as part of your country. How do you solve that issue?
Definitely, Hezbollah is being a problem because it is unfortunately and lately working on the Iranian agenda. And it does not have the approval of the Lebanese population, nor the legitimacy from the Lebanese government and the Lebanese authorities, to act on his own. So the war we are in, Hezbollah is bearing a certain responsibility for what's happening now. But also the Israelis are responsible for the destruction. And the solution is what? It is a peaceful solution where we have to have a withdrawal, first a cessation of hostilities from the Israelis, a withdrawal of their army. And from the Lebanese side, we should have the Lebanese state responsible for keeping the stability and the peace on the Israeli borders. All this preparing for a long-term, just and lasting peaceful solution between two countries where we believe that they can live in peace. If, you know, the rules and the basis of peace is well established and equally established between the two countries. This is the solution. So we have to secure for Lebanon its sovereignty, its freedom, and we have to secure for Israel its security. And Hezbollah can as such be a derivative of that solution when we have a Lebanese solution that is securing the protection of Lebanon, the sovereignty of Lebanon, and the freedom of Lebanon. In such a situation, Hezbollah will have no more reason or pretext to resist, because Hezbollah and Lebanon should not be responsible for the liberation of Palestine. The Palestinians should be responsible of the liberation of their country. And whenever Hezbollah goes out of the Lebanese context, it's losing. It's losing the war and the capacity to defend Lebanon, and it's losing the trust and the legitimacy from the Lebanese side.
So you've put together a plan, I believe your party, to go forward for peace in the region. Does that include those elements you're talking about?
Of course, we have a vision of how to live in peace internally first, and with our neighbors second. Because again, we believe that the role of Lebanon has many assets. It has human assets in its diversity, but it has also a geographic asset in its positioning. Now, especially in a period where, you know, the maritime borders and the straits and the maritime and water passages are very important. And Lebanon has such a role in bridging between communities, between cultures, but also between the East and the West. And it's in providing a safe passage for pipelines, you know, for trade lines. And as such, Lebanon should be kept away of the conflicts. And our vision to accomplish this role for Lebanon, where we can also be a complementary to the vision that we are seeing led by the Saudi Kingdom and by the Gulf states. You know, from that part of the Mediterranean, we can be complementary to that vision. And in that vision, we have to accomplish, you know, the rights for the Lebanese states, where Lebanon since 1948 has been thoroughly attacked by the Israelis, and we have still in our country 400 to 500,000 Palestinians that are refugees. We still have more than 1.5 million of Syrian displaced. So Lebanon should be kept for the Lebanese, you know, and the problems of other countries should not be solved on our expenses. That's why we need to, one, have a defense strategy for Lebanon, like any other country, a strategy that is adopted by the Lebanese institutions, accepted by all Lebanese, and that is securing the internal peace between the Lebanese. Then we should have a protection from the international community, a protection that is stipulated by UN resolutions, okay, and by a state of neutrality for Lebanon to be kept outside the conflict. And third, by having a peace treaty with Israel and the region. And that peace, you know, can start by a truce, then move to a peace, and hopefully can go later at a later stage to a normalization of relations whereby I can see the Lebanese, they can live like they can live with their Arab neighbors, they can live with their Israeli neighbors. We can work together in culture and economy and finance and arts, and this is where we can compete. Are we allowed to compete, or we are only allowed to make wars?
Yeah.
Does the Israeli government or authority accept that Lebanon would state in its, authenticity and its privileges to play its role in competing in whatever field? Or no, Lebanon should always be weakened. And definitely, with the absence of the Christians in Lebanon, Lebanon will be weakened. Is this what is needed for the country? To be a weak state in the absence of the Christians so that the Israelis prevail in the region? And is this the goal of the US administrations to also always, I understand they are keeping a supremacy in the military field, but should this supremacy also prevail in culture, in arts, and the society and the economy?
Do you want the U.S. involved in that piece? There's talk of some
course,
kind of
of course,
U.S.
the US
protection provided.
Of course, the US have a big influence. We have the biggest embassy here. We have the biggest university here. I am an AUB student. We look up to the US values and democracy and human rights, and these are our shared values. So of course we feel that we are joined with the United States with so many values and principles and the way of living. Of course we want this, but we want also to be accepted in our role and to be preserved in our existence. And whenever the US adopts a fair policy, we can reach a fair peace.
There's talk in the West and other circles of a partition of Lebanon. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Lebanon is 10,452 square kilometers, and the Christians are spread all over the country. So let's assume that the country is partitioned. What do we do with the Christians in the non-Christian area?
Yeah,
we invite them to more immigration, or we ask them to be deported from their houses now in their regions and come to live in the small Christian Lebanon. And that small Christian Lebanon wouldn't be surrounded by Muslims also? Should we erect walls to be protected? Is this the role of the Christians, to be isolated? Or their role is to coexist with others all over the country and all over the region? When the Christ sent his disciples, to spread the message of Christianity, he asked them to stay at home or to go and visit everywhere and enter every house. So I don't see how we can, express our Christianity by being isolated in 2,000 square kilometers and surrounded by other communities and not protected.
Yes. Do you feel there's a interdependence between the different demographic groups here, economically and culturally in Lebanon?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. This does not, deny our right to preserve our specificities and to express our Christianity in the way we want, in our well-being, in our way of living, and that we should be given, every community should be given its own privileges. Like, for example, to have a decentralized regime in Lebanon, a decentralization in monetary and the administration. We can have a united country and the United States where, each community has its way. So our relation with God is different than our relation with each other. So we can find a secular state, we can find, with a decentralized system, but to partition this country is a way to condemn the possibility of living together in Lebanon, in the region, and I believe elsewhere.
What do you need from the Americans right now? What would you like from them?
To be just and fair. We understand, their interests in the region. We accept their, preference to Israel, but we think that we can be equally treated in a way where the U.S. can really focus on America first, but also take care and of other parts of the world, but in a way that in a fair, non-biased, and acceptable policy, where I don't think that the U.S. gained a lot by weakening minorities in the region or the Christians in so many parts of the world. I want them to be fair to everybody, to the Muslim and to the Christians and to the Jews. And this is a role that a superpower like the U.S. Can also help the country itself to preserve its supremacy.
Would you consider FPM, the Free Patriotic Movement, kind of a non-aligned movement, or as far as are you in the war itself in Iran? Where do you see that?
Of course, we are not aligned, nor to Iran nor to Israel.
Yeah.
We are on a Lebanese track. We see the interests of our country. We want the sovereignty of our country. We should not be involved in the war of Iran, nor should we be involved in supporting Gaza. This is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to preserve our country. We can have a political stance in asking for the rights of the Palestinians to live freely in their country, but it's not up to us to do their fight. It's not up to us to do the fight of Iran, nor to exert the interests of Israel. So, of course, we are not aligned with any front, with any axis. We are aligned only with Lebanon.
Last question. Is there anything else you want the American public and the global community to know about Lebanon and your party?
No, I think that our party and Lebanon has was not well treated. We were sanctioned unjustly, only for having the right to preserve our national unity. Because if we don't preserve our internal peace in the country, and we would put our society in threat of war, that is another recipe for immigration. We have enough Christians in the US, more than 1.2 million. And we have enough Lebanese in the world, more than 14 million. And we are only left with 4 or 5 million here in Lebanon. We want to keep them here and to live in peace. If we aspire to live in peace in our country and with others, this does not justify sanctioning us for our beliefs.
Thank you, Mr. Bassil.
Welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
pandemic. We can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
Bill, I just want to give a shout out to mark37.com, which is one of our new sponsors, and just give a quick read of one of their really good things that they're really good at. Your phone isn't just a phone, it's a tracking device you're carrying voluntarily. And buying a different phone doesn't automatically fix that. Going ghost is a lifestyle choice. Some conviction it takes to homestead, to homeschool, to choose whatever goes into your body. Mark 37's Ghost phone and Ghost laptop are built for this, but the team will tell you straight, the device is just the starting line, not the finish line. Education and personal accountability are what actually move the needle. Go to mark37.com/CDM. Free webinar, that's where it starts. So mark37.com/CDM. Make sure you put this /CDM on the end, and you can get that free webinar and start the process to going private. Back to you, Bill.
That's great. Well, we are delighted to welcome in Garland Favorito today. Hi, Garland. How are you?
Hi, great to be back with y'all, Bill and Todd.
Hey,
Garland. Well, thank you for making time. I saw a post that you put up on an event that occurred in the last few days with regard to one of our favorites, Mr. Brad Raffensperger, and I wanted to give you a chance to speak to this because many find it unbelievably concerning that yet again we seem to be shirking the law in Georgia. And here was your post. Let me turn it over to you to give us a briefing on what this was and how surprising perhaps this outcome is.
Well, thank you, Bill. And this one is amazing. You know, we've known for some time that there is a conspiracy between Fulton County and Brad Raffensperger's Secretary of State's office, specifically the elections area and the judicial area and Brad Raffensperger. But this one is another new twist, and it's a fascinating story. It goes back to something I think you are very aware of and have reported on before. It goes back to the Georgia GOP convention where the Georgia GOP passed a resolution banning Raffensperger to run as a Republican in any future race he chooses to run in. And it doesn't, of course, he can run, but not as a Republican. And specifically, this started out with a resolution, and it read, it is resolved that the Georgia Republican Party shall not qualify, allow to be qualified, or take any action to allow Brad Raffensperger to qualify as a Republican or run as for any elected office unless and until a GOP convention removes that restriction. So that was what the Georgia GOP passed, yet they didn't actually enforce that. So two Northwest Georgia residents, and you may know, Brandon James and Harvey Weissong filed a petition, a challenge to the Secretary of State's office to vacate the Secretary of State's qualification. So Brad Raffensperger, who receives all these challenges, then is required by law to turn them over to an administrative judge who makes a decision on the challenge, whether it's valid or not. Well, Brad Raffensperger refused to do this. So when Harvey and Brandon, were faced with a letter from Charlene McGowan, the legal counsel for the Secretary of State Raffensperger, you know well, Bill, she gives them a letter back saying that we have determined that the information provided does not meet the criteria required to constitute a valid candidate challenge. The problem with that is that they don't have that authority under Georgia law. A Secretary of State does not have the authority under Georgia law to declare that a challenge is invalid before it is heard by an administrative judge. The Secretary of State is mandated to turn that challenge over to a judge for a hearing, and then once the judge has made a decision, the Secretary of State then has the authority to adopt the decision or not. But they don't have the authority to prevent the challenge from being heard by an administrative law judge. They're mandated under this law, which is 2125B, and explicitly says that any elector can challenge, and the Secretary of State shall send that over to an administrative law judge. Well, when Brandon and Harvey did not get their opportunity to have their challenge heard, they filed a writ of mandamus to the Fulton County Superior Court to require Brad Raffensperger to turn that challenge over for a hearing. And the judge last Friday before last, had verbally denied that. And on Monday of this week, she issued the order, and her order says that petitioners lack a clear legal right to an administrative hearing. Well, every petitioner, every elector in the state of Georgia has a clear legal right to administrative hearing. That is a blatant lie. You just have to read the statute 21235 because, as I've just mentioned, any elector can make a challenge, and the Secretary of State shall turn that over to an administrative law judge. So basically, the judge literally ignored Georgia law and protected Brad Raffensperger. And of course, this is none other than a Fulton County Superior Court judge. We know where that goes.
So, Garland, it seems like that would be pretty easily overturned on appeal.
Exactly, Todd, and that is what happened. So on Tuesday, the day after they got this decision, they have filed a notice of appeal, and that's exactly where we sit now, Todd. With them going to the appeals court. Now, we have had the appeals court make some weird rulings before. You remember in our case, I know we've talked about it on your show multiple times. The appeals court upheld a lower court Fulton County decision that we had no standing, and we had to get that overturned in the Georgia Supreme Court. So in this case, the appeal is going directly to the Supreme Court because it's an election matter.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So let me make sure I understand what happened. So in one case, Raffensperger and his office failed to follow the law. And then in the second step, the Fulton court failed to follow the law according to what appears to be the law, at least. And so now we're facing going up to the Supreme Court to try to get a ruling on this. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah, Bill. And that is what makes this so interesting, is that it is a double violation. It's the Secretary of State and a Fulton County Superior Court concluding, they are they're conspiring together or colluding together is what I was trying to say, to violate the law and all to protect Raffensperger from just having a legitimate challenge. Now, if the administrative law judge says he's qualified, then he's qualified. There would be no dispute. But to prevent him from, prevent Brandon and Harvey from even having it, a challenge heard is just unbelievable. And it sets up this massive conflict of interest where the Secretary of State is not allowing his own candidacy to be challenged, and he's being supported by a Fulton County judge who has to ignore the law to do that. And what's interesting about this, and that's why I want to thank you and Todd, this has been blacked out by all the local news media, and this is why we need CD Media and the Georgia Record, because this is the only way the people ever find out about this information.
Yeah. So I want to underscore something you started with too, and the underscoring of this decision to prevent and not allow him to be qualified was made during the Georgia Republican Party's state convention, if I recall correctly, and that is when that is convened, that is the most powerful group within the Georgia GOP, as I recall, and I believe that would be substantiated by their own rules. And yet that resolution was passed, and it appeared that Raffensperger would not be allowed to run as a Republican. Yet, unless I'm mistaken, shortly thereafter, the chairman, McCoon, came out and said he would not be able to comply with that resolution because it could theoretically create a lawsuit between the GOP and Raffensperger. Am I getting that about right?
Yeah, I think it was that was right, and I don't have exactly the word for word. But what's interesting about this bill is that the GOP has already denied, rightfully so, Jeff Duncan from running as a Republican. He's now running for governor as a Democrat, supported ironically by Rick Jackson, which is another story. And they also, in the David Duke case decades ago, they basically prevented him from getting on the ballot. So why is it that they have failed to act in this case is a bit of a mystery, but I guess, Brad Raffensperger has better political connections than David Duke had.
Maybe. We will bring you back as more comes along with the appeal in this case, and please reach out to us if things become apparent that we need to know.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it, and I just want to just so that everybody knows that this is correct, and the link is in the press release, but you can go to the statute itself. 2125B, it says any elector who is eligible to vote for a candidate may challenge the qualifications of the candidate by filing a written complaint with the Secretary of State, given the reasons why the elector believes the candidate is not qualified to seek and hold public office. And then upon receiving that, it says that the Secretary of State shall notify the candidate in writing that his or her qualifications are being challenged and the reasons thereof, and shall advise the candidate he is requesting a hearing on the matter before an administrative law judge. So the law on this is crystal clear. Anyone can read it, and anyone can determine that both the Secretary of State and this Fulton County Judge, Belinda Edwards, are basically violating the law.
Yep, very concerning, and we appreciate you being here to cover it, Garland. We will look forward to more progress, hopefully.
Always a pleasure, Bill, and you and Todd. Thank you for all y'all do at the Georgia Record. We really, really appreciate you being the source of true news in the state of Georgia.
nuclear wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, you know, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does nuclear do? Nuclear itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Hope you enjoyed the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow on location at our undisclosed location. It will be disclosed tomorrow, but we are here on the Department of War's request to cover something, the LandPAC conference off the left coast. All right, so we will be back tomorrow. Stay with us 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF Eastern. Please check out our social media. Please follow us on CDM_press on X, on CDM1 on Rumble, CDM in YouTube. Please subscribe. Sign up for our no ad subscriptions. That's at my.cdm.press. That's my.cdm.press. You get access to all of our content with no advertisements. So please follow us there. All right, we'll be back. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be back tomorrow on the SCIF.